and we had gun emplacements on those Liberty ships. I was assigned as loader on the 20 millimeter on the bridge deck, and I stood many cold watches doing that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I understand that when you arrived in Liverpool, they gave you a little dictionary to keep your...
They did, yes, because the British English and the American English are somewhat different, and the customs are different. They gave each of us a little booklet explaining some of the words that we were unfamiliar with, like the bonnet for an automobile instead of the hood, and things of that sort.
A lift instead of an elevator, I guess.
Yes, that's correct.
Right.
And they explained the British money because they were still on the pound at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good indoctrination.
Good. While you were in Liverpool, the original intent, as I believe you understood it, would be you would unload your cargo there and then return to the U.S.
That's right. That was a fairly common practice with the ships that were going to England. And we were stored for a year, in other words, food supplies and so forth. When we would get to England, we would discharge all but about 3 weeks' worth, enough for us to get back. The British people at that point were really hard put. They were really hungry, and so a lot of our supplies went to them, as I say, with just enough reserve to bring back. And I can recall taking an apple or an orange ashore when I go ashore on Liberty. The kids would be lined up at the dock waiting for you to come out the gates and beg for food items like that.
I also understand that rather than return to the U.S., at some point your ship was suddenly put under the command of the British?
The British Sea Transport Service, yes. And that was for the British 8th Army. And so they reloaded us. We had discharged all our munitions. I failed to say that was a munitions ship. So they reloaded us again with munitions. We at that point didn't know where we were headed, but once we headed south out of Liverpool, we knew that our destination was going to be the Mediterranean. And the British, of course, put food back on for us, but it wasn't good old U.S. food. And Walter and I got very sick and tired of eating mutton day in and day out, and the sausages that we swore were 75% sawdust.
Mm-hmm. But you went into, as a result of a boiler problem with your vessel, you unexpectedly went into a port in Tunisia.
Well, that's right. First of all, of course, we had to go through the Straits of Gibraltar. We initially went to Oran, and we saw some of the French fleet that had been scuttled there in Mers El Kabir, right outside of Oran. We were on the shuttle in the Mediterranean between Oran and Tunis and other ports along the North African coast to take supplies up for the Italian invasion. And as you say, on one of those shuttles, we developed boiler trouble, and we were losing steam pressure. We couldn't keep up with the convoy. Convoy was going about 10 to 12 knots. We were only able to make about 4, just about enough for steerage. And so they rerouted us to run unescorted into Bizerte for repairs. There was a U.S. Navy base there and a Navy repair ship, and they sent Boilermakers out to our ship. We anchored out in the Lake of Bizerte, and then we got some very bad news.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about the bad news.
Well, the bad news was that we were in an 18-ship convoy, and we were proceeding up to the port of Bari, Italy, which is on the Adriatic side, on the east coast of Italy. And with our problems, we had to drop out. We were scared to death running alone without escort. And then, as I say, while we were being repaired, the captain got the officers aside and included me as a cadet officer and told us that the other 17 ships in our 18-ship convoy were all hit in Barry or going into Barry. We were all carrying munitions. There was just a tremendous uproar, and unfortunately there were 1,000 Allied seamen and 1,000 civilians that were injured or killed, and no, there were actually 1,000 of each that were killed. And unfortunately, we were carrying mustard gas, and those people don't realize that we had mustard gas in preparation for retaliating if the Germans used it on us. And
yes, I read the book that you gave to me.
Yes.
And it's really hasn't been out in the open.
No, it is not.
Winston Churchill, for example, never spoke of it.
That's true.
I believe President Roosevelt did.
Many months later.
Many months later.
Yes, right. Yes. Ernie Pyle finally broke the story to a small degree, not, of course, about the mustard gas, but that there had been quite a catastrophe there and quite a great loss. But that was about 3 months after it occurred, and there are still some parts of that occurrence that are still sealed and will not be opened until the year 2012 from some of the British archives.
Mm-hmm. So after service there in the Mediterranean and after the Barry incident, you eventually returned to New York.
Yes. First of all, we did a couple more trips back and forth. We went up to Naples. Naples was devastated. They were using sunken ships. They built bridge-like affairs on them and used those for docks. And then we went to Anzio, back to North Africa, and then we loaded some Free French troops on our ship. We were not equipped for troops, so they slept on deck, and that was pretty rough.
I imagine.
And then we came back to the States. We came back to Oran, and were ordered back to the States.
And you arrived in New York Harbor, as I understand, on March 19th, 1944.
That's correct. We were mighty happy to see the lady waving to us in the harbor.
Right. And from March until December, you returned to the academy,
That's
completed
correct.
your coursework, and then
Yes.
you were commissioned ensign in the
Maritime Service and ensign in the Naval Reserve
Naval
inactive.
Reserve.
And that also qualified us then with our sea time and our training to sit for our licenses, in Waller's case, engineering officer, and mine as a deck officer. And that was a 5-day examination, very thorough.
Mm-hmm. About a year later, you would cross the North Atlantic again on another vessel, the SS William Phipps.
That's correct.
And,
Another Liberty.
You were in Ghent, Belgium on May the 7th,
Yes.
1945,
Right.
VE Day.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that was quite a...
That was a marvelous celebration. Yes. We went to Dover, from Dover up the Scheldt River to Terneuzen, Holland, and then up the Ghent Canal to Ghent. And again, a munitions ship, and we were unloading munitions when they sort of slowed things down. And then all of a sudden VE Day was declared, and it was a tremendous celebration. Walter and I were with a couple of the officers on our ship in the square there, and some people up on a balcony on the second floor motioned to us to come up and join them, which we did, and the gentleman had stashed away a bottle of some very good stuff that he was saving for that occasion and treated us.
Yeah,